I ask you to watch this video until the very end and truly listen. Because what is said here can fundamentally change the way you understand discipline. There is a version of yourself that has not yet emerged. A version so precise, so merciless, and so unwavering that if you encountered him today, you would not recognize him. You would feel fear. Most people believe discipline is simply rising early, eating clean, or grinding endlessly. They are mistaken. True discipline is not a routine, it is a calculated assault on your own weakness. It is the capacity to confront your fatigue, your emotions, your excuses, and bury them deep where they cannot return. Machiavelli understood this. He didn't write for the weak or the innocent. He wrote for the architects of strategy. He knew that in a chaotic world, softness is a liability. Predictability is a death sentence. You must become an unstoppable force. When you achieve true discipline, people do not merely respect you. They sense a disturbance. They notice a man who no longer bargains with himself. And that frightens them. Because a mind that cannot be conquered from within cannot be broken from without. You are here because you are drained. Not the ordinary kind of exhaustion, but a deep, soul-weary fatigue. You are frustrated with your inconsistency. You are sick of promising yourself change only to collapse before noon. You see others ascending while you remain caught in the endless loop of motivation followed by surrender. You want to escape that cycle. You want to forge a mind impervious to weakness. I will guide you through that transformation. But understand, this is not a path of encouragement. This is self-annihilation. We are going to dismantle the fragile, dependent, emotional layers of your identity so that the sovereign self can rise. We are going to inject the ruthless logic of Niccolò Machiavelli into your daily existence. By the conclusion of this journey, you will grasp why seeking approval is a liability, and why commanding fear through discipline is true liberation. But you must pay attention, because the key does not lie in addition. The key is in what you are willing to destroy. Most men are slaves. Slaves to impulses. Slaves to screens. Slaves to the fleeting opinions of people they barely respect. The moment you commit to this path, you step beyond slavery. You become a sovereign. But sovereignty is not free. Are you prepared to pay the cost? The first stage is the discipline of silence. Machiavelli once said, "All observe what you appear to be, few know what you are." Ordinary men broadcast every detail of their plans. They announce triumphs they have yet to achieve. They seek praise for effort they have not yet invested. This is why they fail. They release their pressure before the engine even starts. You must move in the opposite direction. You must become a ghost. True discipline thrives in silence. It inhabits shadow. When you endlessly speak of your goals, you are begging for approval. You ask permission to exist as your highest self. Stop asking. The most dangerous presence in the room is the one who observes, listens, and says nothing. When you embrace silence, you generate a vacuum. People grow uneasy. They project their fears onto you. They speculate. They wonder why your existence no longer depends on their attention. This silence becomes your armor. It shields your purpose. Working unseen allows mistakes to be corrected without scrutiny. Strength develops beyond the interference of doubt. Picture vanishing for 6 months. No announcements. No explanations. Just work, your body, your craft, your mind. You strip away noise, cheap dopamine, and friends who exist only to share your vices. Then you return. But you are not the same. You re-emerge sharper, heavier, more present. You don't need to declare change, it is sensed. They perceive it in your posture. They hear it in the absence of your words. This is the discipline of the ghost. It unsettles people because it mirrors their own scattered attention. While they chased validation, you were building power. Begin now. Stop explaining yourself. Explanation is the language of the weak. The powerful act without apology. If you are tired, silence yourself and work. If you are wounded, silence yourself and heal. If you are succeeding, silence yourself and continue. Let results speak. Their echoes will drown any voice of doubt. Comment if you are ready to enter the void. I construct in silence. The second stage is emotional alchemy. There is a misconception that the disciplined are robotic, impervious to pain, boredom, or despair. That is false. The disciplined man feels everything. The yearning to sleep, the sting of rejection, the compulsion to quit, all are present. The difference is he does not yield. Machiavelli believed that a ruler who allows emotions to govern him forfeits control, but a ruler who learns to weaponize emotion gains leverage. He observed that human beings move under two dominant forces, attraction and fear, desire and avoidance, and that understanding this duality is the foundation of power. This principle must first be applied inward. You cannot depend on loving the process. You will not wake up before dawn filled with joy. At 4 in the morning, motivation is absent and enthusiasm is dead. Passion will not be there to save you. Passion is unstable. It burns bright and disappears just as quickly. A single disruption extinguishes it. What you need is colder, heavier, less romantic. You need obligation. You need command. Discipline is the practice of acting against your internal resistance. It is the conversion of reluctance into motion. It is emotional alchemy. You take the raw weight of resistance, the voice that says not today, and you refine it into action taken regardless. The moment you stop asking your feelings for permission, you cross a dangerous threshold. Consider this carefully. If an opponent knows you only move when inspired, all he has to do is wait. He waits until you are discouraged, until you are exhausted, until your mood collapses, and you are neutralized without a fight. But if you are the type of individual who increases output when miserable, who sharpens focus when angry, who doubles effort when wounded, you become erratic in the eyes of others. You are no longer governed by conditions. You function independently of circumstance. This unsettles people. They watch you continue long after logic says you should stop. They expect you to break. You do not. What they fail to grasp is that you have separated behavior from emotion. You experience feelings, but they no longer dictate movement. You treat emotion the way a strategist treats weather. You observe it without surrendering to it. You see the storm. You acknowledge its presence. But you do not abandon the mission because the sky is hostile. You adjust and proceed. This is the Machiavellian method applied internally. You are the sovereign and your emotions are unruly citizens. You hear their complaints. You register their discomfort. But you do not allow them to govern. If they rebel, you suppress the rebellion. Begin training this immediately with a simple rule. When the alarm sounds, you have a narrow window. 3 seconds. If you hesitate longer than that, your mind will begin its negotiation. It will offer comfort. It will manufacture reasons. Your brain is engineered for survival, not dominance. It seeks ease, not excellence. You must interrupt the dialogue. Count and move. 1, 2, 3. Action. Do not analyze. Analysis at that moment is sabotage. Execution requires immediacy. In moments of weakness, movement is the solution. Command the body and the mind will follow. Repeated over time, this rewires your internal circuitry. You are no longer someone who attempts discipline. You become a system that operates under all conditions. That is how invulnerability is built. When your internal turbulence no longer controls your output, you experience a rare form of freedom. The next evolution requires isolation. Machiavelli understood that power is often preserved through solitude. He warned that dependence on others weakens authority. Examine your environment. Study the small group you orbit daily. Are they elevating you or sedating you? Most people are terrified of solitude. They fill silence with noise. Audio, messages, endless scrolling. Anything to avoid sitting alone with their own thoughts. Because their thoughts expose the truth. They reveal wasted time, unfulfilled potential, unkept promises. To become brutally disciplined, you must learn to stand alone. You must sever proximity to those who dilute your standards. This is not gentle. It is not kind. It is necessary. As you rise, resistance will appear. Not always in the form of enemies, but in the form of familiar faces. Your progress becomes a mirror. When you improve your body, someone close feels accused. When you build something meaningful, another feels exposed. They will label you obsessive. They will say you are different, distant, no longer enjoyable. Accept it. Pleasure is the currency of the average. You are not pursuing amusement. You are pursuing command. You must make peace with being the antagonist in someone else's narrative. Let them misunderstand. Let them assign motives. You are not elevating yourself above them. You are simply refusing to descend. Isolation is not punishment. It is a laboratory. In solitude, you discover who you are without external influence. The noise fades. Your own voice becomes audible. Your direction sharpens. You must deliberately schedule withdrawal. Call it deep work. Call it monk mode. The label is irrelevant. What matters is separation. Close the door. Disable the phone. Confront the task. In that space, discomfort will surface. Restlessness will appear. Anxiety will challenge you. And you will engage it directly. When you defeat those forces privately, you emerge with a confidence that cannot be performed. Others feel it instantly. They sense someone who does not require approval or attention. Paradoxically, that independence draws people in. The individual who is complete on his own becomes magnetic because he is not extracting value from others. He is already full. Another layer of discipline is unpredictability. Machiavelli cautioned against being easily read. He understood that affection is fragile, dependent on convenience, while fear is stable because it is rooted in consequence. Applied inwardly, predictability is weakness. When you lack discipline, your behavior is forecastable. People know when you will quit. They anticipate your complaints. They understand exactly how much pressure it takes to break you. This makes you manipulable. Discipline disrupts this pattern. You stop responding reflexively. An insult is delivered and you do not rise to it. You pause. You return to work. A crisis emerges and you do not spiral. You assess. You lose resources and you do not collapse. You rebuild. This emotional neutrality unsettles those who rely on reaction to exert control. Once the triggers are gone, their influence evaporates. Consistency becomes your instrument. Picture someone who appears every day without drama. No announcements. No theatrics. Just execution repeated over years. He cannot be distracted. He cannot be discouraged. He cannot be delayed. That individual inspires unease because he is unavoidable. He progresses whether anyone is watching or not. You should aim to become that force. Not aggressive. Not loud. Relentless. Like a glacier. Slow. Silent. Unstoppable. To achieve this, you must eliminate the desire for sympathy. Stop advertising struggle. Stop narrating hardship. Stop seeking reassurance. Sympathy exposes vulnerability. It shows where you can be wounded. Discipline demands concealment. Not out of shame, but out of strategy. You do not reveal damage while still in the fight. Machiavelli would advise you to conceal your damage, not out of shame, but out of strategy. You do not display injury because awareness feeds the predator. You square your shoulders. You still your expression. You move as if the ground belongs to you. Even when everything behind your eyes is collapsing, you deny the audience the pleasure of watching you falter. This is not pretending. This is authorship. You decide the angle from which reality is seen. You announce without words that you are steady now and dominant later. This is the stage where standards stop being negotiable. Failure keeps returning because the threshold you tolerate is low. You have permitted a world where effort is praised regardless of outcome, where close counts as success. That bargain poisons progress. Raise the minimum. History is blunt about this. Rome did not collapse because enemies were clever. Sparta did not fade because rivals were stronger. They decayed because rigor dissolved. Discipline thinned. Comfort softened the spine. Excess made vigilance optional. You are alive during the most indulgent moment humanity has ever engineered. Warm rooms on command. Food without effort. Pleasure without pursuit. Screens that drip amusement. Sugar, chemicals, stimulation on demand. Every system around you is tuned to dull the edge. To remain sharp here is an act of defiance. You must pick a fight with ease. You must adopt rules that appear absurd to those who are asleep. Why do you rise before dawn? Why do you audit details no one notices? Why do you refuse what everyone else consumes? Because you are not built for their ceiling. That answer stays internal. You do not preach it. You demonstrate it. Excellence held quietly is the loudest accusation. When you keep your bar high, the room feels exposed. Your presence punctures their alibis. If you can execute, their stories crumble. It is simpler for them to label you unbalanced than to confess they are undisciplined. Let them invent names. The Machiavellian mind does not stoop for approval. It advances until the environment adapts or it exits without apology. You must become severe with your minutes. Time is the one currency that never replenishes. Each moment squandered on petty debate, infinite scrolling, or imaginary fears is a theft from what you could have built. Defend your hours like a hoard. Make access rare. Speak economically. Act decisively. When others learn your attention is costly, they stop treating it cheaply. When they sense your focus is scarce, it gains weight. Order produces scarcity, and scarcity produces value. When your execution becomes so consistent it looks inhuman, you leave the crowd behind. Most people jostle in the middle where the noise is thick. The summit is quiet because few endure the climb. The air changes. The perspective sharpens. Then comes the severest transition. The erasure of who you were. This is where sentimentality dies. To become someone who unsettles them, you must bury the version of yourself that needed permission. The one who apologized for wanting more. The one who chased applause. You must face the archive of your life, errors, humiliations, wounds, and shut the door without ceremony. War cannot be avoided, only delayed to someone else's benefit. Your war is internal. If the old self survives, it will sabotage the future. It will tug you back toward habits that feel familiar. It will bargain when pressure rises. Rest today. Indulge once. Delay again. You cannot negotiate here. This shedding is brutal. It strips you raw. But growth demands exposure. You may shed companions. You may lose intimacy. You may become foreign to your own blood. This is the Levi greatness collects. Do not protest the cost. Pay it. Because beyond that ending is a return. Leaner. Faster. Colder. A mind that runs on principles instead of moods. A vision that treats the world as a board of positions, not a playground of feelings. This version alarms you. It should. Power is unsettling by nature. And what you are constructing is not dominance over others, that is decay, but command over yourself. That is sovereignty. When you enter a space with total self-mastery, the atmosphere adjusts. People step aside without knowing why. They sense boundaries before they are spoken. Your eyes carry the mark of someone who has stared into disorder and crossed through intact. Someone who has subdued his own impulses. There is no conquest higher. The ancients understood this. The individual who rules himself eclipses the one who takes cities. Commit to this path and something strange happens. The static fades. The low hum of dread that has followed you for years quiets because anxiety is born from neglect. It grows when you know you are unready, when you are evading yourself. Discipline removes the hiding places. You become familiar with your capacity. The future stops feeling like a threat because you are assembling it piece by piece. Other people lose their power over you because you know they cannot match your output. Failure loses its sting because it becomes information. Freedom appears. It is not warm. It is not crowded. It is solitary and sharp. It resembles the wolf on the ridge watching the enclosure below. The herd is comfortable, fed, protected, and confined. You stand in the cold, hungry, alert, and unowned. That is the decision in front of you. Comfort with captivity, or hardship with agency. You cannot merge them. Machiavelli wrote from exile. Status stripped. Body broken. Name smeared. In that isolation he produced clarity that outlived kings. He did not require approval. He required accuracy. Your discipline is your accuracy. It belongs to you alone. Wealth can be seized. Titles can be revoked. Reputation can be rewritten. Endurance cannot be confiscated. The capacity to persist is a citadel no one breaches. The world is softening. It is amplifying noise. It is accelerating chaos. That shift favors you. As they dull, you hone. As they scatter, you concentrate. As they chase comfort, you pursue the edge. You will unsettle them. Not by intent, but by contrast. You reflect what they avoided becoming. Let them look. Let them murmur. Let them fear. There is work ahead. The route is steep. The temperature is unforgiving. And it is solitary. But if you are still listening, you are not average. You are the exception. Prove it. Choose the cold path. And if you want to continue descending into the mechanics of power, if you want tools they never handed you, stay close. The previous version is finished. Build what replaces it.